Hey guys, and welcome to Arcanuschat Season 2, Episode 1. Ironically, Alex is the only one here, even though we had a member 10 minutes ago.
What?
I'm not actually angry about that because it actually makes this Arcanuschat properly.
Yep.
So, yeah. We were supposed to have this episode be where everyone has Henry's profile picture, but since no one contacted me in the recent, past, 3 days, except for, say, for, Kira and Manny in the group chat, that just didn't happen. So next week we'll all be Henry and you will all die. Anyways. So, what me and Alex were talking about before the chat is the impact of Shonen Jump's new editor. From what I've understood, the editor-in-chief has been axing series left and right. I believe he ended Toriko and he's going to end Gintama. Two other big...
Gintama has a big cult following, though.
Yes, so does Toriko. There's a reason Toriko lasted as long as the big three did.
I guess.
Also, it had a crossover with DBZ and One Piece. That actually happened. So,
Interesting.
Yeah. However, it's just Toriko's fans aren't as loud as some of the other franchises' fans. Gintama fans aren't loud until the anime gets a new season. Then they get loud, posting screenshots every 10 seconds of funny stuff in the anime.
Sounds about right.
One Piece fans have finally died down, but that has nothing to do with Shonen Jump, I don't think. But, anyways, so I just watched a video, and this guy, he's pointing out that there was a massive drop-off in sales after two series ended, Bleach and Nisekoi, right? So, Nisekoi is a harem series that was in Shonen Jump because reasons.
Sounds right.
And Nisekoi means false love. Premise of Nisekoi is, because I don't have to explain the premise of Bleach, because if you don't know what Bleach is, I'm asking how you've been on the internet. Actually, if you don't know what any of the big three are, or DBZ or Sailor Moon, I'm questioning what you've been doing on the internet anime-wise. You don't have to...
only been watching anime the past, 6 months.
Maybe. So, the premise of Nisekoi is two essentially rival criminal organization leaders are in Japan, and to stop the war from destroying both organizations, they have their children date each other. One's a tsundere, one's a traditional protagonist. They don't like each other. Bunch of bullcrap happens. 19 other girls get introduced. All of them get 10 seconds of development. And then he ends up liking the tsundere, and the tsundere ends up liking him, even though they hated each other and called themselves for a few names. Anyways, they end up getting married and having a kid, right? The end, right? It's 25 manga volumes long, right?
Yep.
That ended, and they ended Bleach at the same time, and then they have 5 more series to end slated for the rest of this year. Right after another, and I'm what you guys doing there?
Get a new roster, I guess.
They're trying to get 6 new manga, but you see, the thing is, they just can't accept everything. Shonen Jump already axes 90,000% of the one-shots that come out. So, I have no idea how they're going to get I like how they're axing so many, and they're like, oh crap, we need 6 new manga all right now. What?
Yeah.
You could have waited. You could have given Bleach the entire 2 manga volumes more it needed, but whatever. No, yeah, it's none of my business. Essentially, what ended up happening was it got rushed to the end, and the villain had to get the shaft, the hard shaft, so that the writer could give the post-series ending he wanted. Now, that means he gave the actual series ending the ending he didn't want.
Yeah.
However, Ichigo did win a decisive fight for once. I guess that's a bonus, right? But he was assisted by Renji and Aizen. Renji, one of the most useless of the lieutenants, actually involved in a final fight with the former main antagonist of the entire franchise.
Yep. Shout out to Aizen. Shout out to Aizen Chad.
Eyes and Chat is our best chat episodes, actually, in my opinion. Eyes and Chats are so great. It's a shame that British Senpai and Kira don't watch Bleach. Because when we had the old Shonen crew running, it just always led back to it's actually Aizen.
Yep.
So, yeah, what happened was Aizen's like, I can 1v1 you, you watch, and you watch is like, no, you really can't. And he's like, LOL, kidding, I'm 3v1ing you, and you watch is like, wait, what? And then he gets impaled.
That's how you do it in my garden.
That's legitimately how it is. He breaks Ichigo's Bankai, and Ichigo's just like, so you broke my Bankai. And then he makes his old Bankai that was just made from his soul in the first place. And impales him, and he's like, and Watch is like, well, you know, I've been bisected. This is a problem, and then he dies. Well, actually, he turns into spiritual pressure and then tries to reform, but then Ichigo's kid, like, steals him away by accident by touching the spiritual pressure. He disperses it. He's like, tap. So essentially, yeah, Ichigo and Naruto got the same haircut as adults. Ichigo ended up marrying... Huh?
I cry.
Yeah, I don't know. So, there was a meme, and it was like, I got a rushed ending, and the barber's like, I got you, fam, and then it shows their haircuts.
That's pretty good.
And Ichigo married Orihime.
Yep.
And Orihime's still cute. And Ichigo had like the most kawaii 7-year-old kid now. Uryu is leading medical professional. He owns the hospital of the city now.
Okay.
Chad is a professional boxer. Renji and Renji and Rukia tied the knot, and Rukia became a captain.
Okay.
A lot of the lieutenants of the captains who died, half the captains died. We didn't have that many deaths in a Bleach arc of main characters ever. Also, I think like 3 lieutenants died too.
Okay.
Shinji is still a captain though.
Of course, Shinji's greatness. Shinji is the best Bleach character.
I don't know about Kisuke. Because they didn't have time to go over Kisuke and Yoriichi. I think they showed up at Ichigo's reunion party.
Okay.
Uryu and Chad couldn't show up, though. Also, Ichigo's sisters got hot. Because it's like 10 years in the future, and they're like 25.
I see.
Right? What else? Okay, so I'm going to bring up something about Bleach. People say that there was absolutely no character development in Bleach, and I'm going to have to disagree with you right there with the example of the Vizards. The Vizards got an entire arc of character development.
Yeah.
Like, people are so quick to be like, yeah, Bleach has no character development, Bleach has no character development, and I'm like, but the Vizards got, like, entire arc.
There's why Shinji is my favorite Bleach character.
Like, Shinji, the tsundere chick, which is Hiyori, the midget girl.
Yep.
And then, like... No, it was basically about them. Them and Kisuke got the most development in that arc. They're probably some of the Bleach characters with the most development in the series, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, they got the most development. That was like an entire arc of development. And that gave Aizen character development as well, for why he's the way he is. First, he was just this a-hole genius, and then he just develops into, I am actually evil.
Yeah.
Right? And then it explains the background of Mayuri Kurotsuchi. Why he's so salty. He's actually a psycho murderer who was put in prison for experiments on people. And then Kisuke is like, he's a genius. I'm taking him into my organization. And Soul Society is like, okay. And that's how Mayuri Kurotsuchi gets out of prison. Kisuke.
That's how we do it in my garden.
So yeah, now that that's out of the way, um, what should we talk about? Because basically, I was just putting some positivity about Bleach out there because there's not a lot of that left.
Yeah, I get it.
hmm. Maybe we should talk about. Well, there's a lot of anime movies coming out. What makes a good anime movie adaptation, perhaps?
I think we already did this one, but
We did, but there's a lot more coming out than there was 6 months ago.
yeah, I feel it. Notably, we got Heaven's Feel, we have Collide movie, we've got I know you're hyped for Yuki Yune's A Hero movie.
Yeah.
We just watched Dunk Side of Dark Mentions.
Yes. Yu-Gi-Oh! Quite literally, emphasis on the ho, and Mai wasn't even in this movie. Rip Mai, by the way, being a relevant character to most of the series, and then just not being in Duke Devlin was in the movie before Mai, and I kind of laugh because Mai has been in almost every episode poster introduction.
Yes, but Duke Devlin has that Bishi.
Yes, I know, but Mai has like the biggest boobs in Yu-Gi-Oh! That's my argument for that.
Shonen, please.
Um,
Let's be real here. Yu-Gi-Oh just knows exactly what the fans want.
yeah, especially now with that new fantastic art style.
Yeah,
Oof.
they mowed it up, but it's like still Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
So just it's so smooth and so good.
Okay, so comments from the author about Taya. He says, this is Taya at her cutest. Also, she wants to be a dancer, and I have no idea what type of dancer she wants to be.
Please.
It, like, I ended up reading, scrolling upon a comic that went too dark too fast about Taya's dancing career, and I just closed the window, and I was like, no. It basically implied that Taya became a stripper, and I was like, no. And I just closed the window. I was like, no, I refuse to believe. But like, what type of dancing? There's so many types of dancing, and dressed like that, I highly doubt it's ballroom dancing.
Yeah.
Whew, Taya. In the manga, Taya has significantly more revealing clothes than she has in the anime. And
that doesn't surprise me. I mean, it's the manga.
Yeah, and then I guess the clothes she wears started carrying over into dank-sided dimensions. Because Taya is running a... What in real life, people just call her a slut. In anime, that's just, oh my god, the fan service is too high.
Those skirts, though.
Oh my god, her skirts. Like... I mean, I have belts longer than those skirts. Like... It's a quote from Giguk. Thank you, Giguk, for giving me that. Giguk had a video on fan service, which was like rated at 18 after like a couple weeks, and I can probably watch it now, and YouTube won't block me. But for the last like 4 years, I haven't been able to watch that video. Actually, we talked about fan service in depth in anime.
I don't think we have.
Why? We talked about hentai the first episode, and we didn't talk about fan. Hey guys, guess what the new topic of this episode is?
Alright, we're going the complete antithesis of last week, where we talked about pretty boys and men, in shonen.
Yes. Ah, God, that was without the girls too. So fan service in anime, there are specific types of fan service. There's certain types of violence that are fan service. For example, the over-the-topness of a lot of mechas can be considered fan service.
Yep.
Or at the same time, poison to the own franchise.
I would say a lot of Helsing's fight sequences are fan service just because, oh man, it's satisfying.
Where he just rips apart all those people talking all that garbage. All that garbage.
Yes,
They talk so
yes,
much trash.
yes. That is Hellsing in a nutshell. People talk so much trash, have really flashy and cool powers, and then Alucard just rips them to shreds.
I like the concept of Anderson, even if I don't like Helsing. Just some
Cool.
Anderson is just this Irish priest who just impales people, and I'm like, thank you for being Kiriko Tamine on like crack or LSD
Yes.
or like on some sort of like drug, and being
Like
Irish.
speed.
Yeah, speed. That'd be one. So, fan service in anime. Alright, so like I was saying, there's violence, and then there's character interactions that can be considered fan servicey, and then there's boobs. And the male equivalent of and then there's butts. And they're like, well, what about the guys? And there's lots of anime scenes where a guy's bare butt is just shown, and you're just like, okay. But it doesn't happen too often to girls, because girls need to wear clothes when their bare behinds are being shown, apparently, right? So, guys will often get ab shots, and I'm going to give an example. In Bleach, actually, Ichigo almost never finishes a fight with all his clothes.
Same.
Bleach is actually one of the most I think it's the most popular of the big three amongst girls.
Well, that doesn't surprise me because it has far and away the prettiest guys.
So,
I mean,
Byakuya's Bishi.
Sasuke is pretty.
I'll continue.
Don't get me wrong, Sasuke is pretty, but like, there's like probably 12 guys from Bleach who just make him look average.
Yeah. Byakuya is just so pretty for a grown man.
Mm-hmm.
In like his late 20s, and I can't.
Yep.
So I'm going to. So there was one time where I was in a PvP group, not to stray, but just to be on Byakuya. I was in a PvP group in Bleach, and there was 4 people, and I'm going to quote what you said. And it was like, it looks like a gay samurai convention.
Same.
So anyways, back to fan service. Yeah, pretty boys are actually a rising popularity form of fan service recently, as more girls take interest in the anime industry and not in real men. Shade thrown. And well, sometimes it can be entirely beneficial to the series, or detrimental for that matter. Examples of series that use fan service that probably shouldn't. Okay, so low-key, as hot as I think Asuka and all the girls are in Eva, because most of the girls in Eva are pretty hot.
Yeah.
Like, they're like 14, and they still get boob flashes, because that's just what Eva is, and that's kinda unnecessary.
Yeah.
But do you know what's funny about Eva? It's every time they say there's going to be plenty of fan service, there never is. But whenever they say they don't talk about fan service, there's tons of it in that episode.
Sounds about right.
Right? So, yeah. An example where fan service is quite literally the series Keijo.
Yes.
Keijo is a parody of shonen. Keijo is a parody of shonen and fan service simultaneously, and while people think, oh, you give it too much credit, it really is a criticism of both, and it does it in the most fantastic and entertaining way I've seen so far.
Yes.
Of just...
Keijo is a lot smarter than it has any right to be, in all honesty.
Yes. It pumps up the fan service and the shonenness to 9,000. Yep. Right? And you just sit there and you laugh and you're like, man, this is great. And MC doesn't even feel like bullcrap because it's a show that you just can't take seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Like, One Punch Man is a parody of shonen and superheroes in general. I got tired of it because it took everything I dislike about shonens and just amped it up. However, I will give it the benefit of the doubt and say that it did a good job parodying shonen.
Yeah.
But I don't like shonen to begin with. However, Keijo, even though it's parodying shonen and fan service in particular, its reach extends to a lot of more anime because there's fan service in everything.
Yes.
Another series that wouldn't be the same without the fan service would probably Collide. Oh my god.
Well, the manga is fan servicey, but Silverlink is just like, did you mean fan service? Full blown Yuri.
I swear to god, Silverlink wants to be a hentai studio. Like, there is, okay, so in the light novel for Chaos Dragon, if you don't know what Chaos Dragon is a franchise that was started after Nasu, Generabuchi, and like 3 doujin artists decided to play a tabletop RPG. And then some writer was like, oh my god, their characters are really good. We could make a series about this. And then it forms about their RPG adventures.
Yep. Because this is what happens when you get when you get 5 people who write professionally in a room and play an RPG.
So, anyways, in the manga, one of the main villains, not manga, but light novel, is a guy. He's Generabuchi's character. Right? In the anime, he is a woman. And I swear he is only a woman to add a Yuri scene in the anime. Because there's this lesbian chick, and she uses her feminine wiles to woo her, quote unquote. Also, the lesbian chick's introduction is she just smashed 2 girls and left them in bed.
Silverlink, please.
And I'm like, thank you, Silverlink. Like, oh my god. What's another example of what Silverlink has done that's really fan servicey? Oh yeah, Baka and Test.
Oh, yeah.
But if you've seen any of Baka and Test, you know. Hideyoshi's my favorite character from that series.
I feel it. Keep in mind I watched Bakken Test like literally over 4 years ago, but
I watched Bakken Test like 3 years ago with Tatalia, and
I watched it when I was in high school, so that was a while ago.
Baka and Hideyoshi is Ultimate Trap 9000.
Did you mean Astolfo? Did you mean French Saber?
French Saber transcends out of existence of all other traps. Okay, also, for the April Fool's joke for 2017 Fate Grand Order released FGOGO.
Yes,
Fate.
I know.
Did you play it yet?
No, I'm going to do it after chat.
I played it before, and it is so fun. The first Pokemon, servant I caught was Cleopatra.
So you
Because
pull
they make
a
you
5-star Grand Order go, yet you can't pull any golds.
Yeah. So, they force you, as your first character, to get Shielder, by the way. The first character you actually have freedom to get is whoever's in your area, I guess.
Okay.
And I was like, so, do they know I'm in Florida now? Or... I mean, they don't seem to be complaining from me being in Florida after my credit card charges. But...
yeah, I feel it.
You know. Fun fact, Fate Grand Order has topped DBZ in Japan. However, there's a global version of Dragon Ball Z phone game, and it almost has 200 million players, so Fate Grand Order can go sit back in its seat because it's essentially the global edition, player base-wise, unfortunately. However, this led to a bunch of salt people saying that fake Grand Order game looks gay. DBZ Toe Compile should be at the top because DBZ fans are horrible. DBZ is actually another series with fan service in it, even if people don't notice. Try looking at any of the female characters that are not Goku's wife. Just look at them. But 10 seconds and tell me there isn't some sort of like major fan service there, especially post Super. Unless Bulma has tons of fan service always. In fact, in her first introduction, she shows her panties like 3 times. In Dragon Ball.
Yep.
Bleach fan service, although excessive, I found to be more tasteful than a lot of shonens. But that just may be because the girls are hot. That just might legitimately actually be it. But yeah.
Yeah.
Or Hime, although she has big boobs, doesn't actually get all that much like ripped shirtage or anything like that.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
In the beginning of the series, or for most of the series, she gets her shoulder, like her sleeves, ripped off a lot, like it's happened like 3 times in the series. But that's about it. There's a scene when Rukia says, in like the second volume, in her Gigai, I hate the research and development department because they always spend so much time making these boobs and thighs look perfect. I need muscle, not fat.
Same.
And I was like, thank you, Rukia, for that lovely social commentary on fan service. Fan service has, in recent years, in the last 5 years, in fact, spiked significantly higher than it has ever really been.
What do you mean?
The amount of harem series has spiked significantly.
Okay.
Being released. Or harem-esque series. There's a lot of light novels. A lot of light novels, while not necessarily being harems, have a lot more harem tropes than they used to. For example, one guy, 9 love interest females who are all not going to end up with him probably by the end of the series. He's probably going to screw his little sister. If we had a live audience and like we could hear their feedback, I'd probably get a lot of that's just nasty. But
yeah,
that's the case. Because in Japan, I mean, if they're adopted, they're smashable. I mean, they're obviously going to be your wife. In Japan. Okay, so, what is it? My little sister can't be this cute. You know MC marries his sister, right? Like,
well,
there's, I think, 3 love interests. And the girl that wasn't his sister, everyone was rooting for, like, almost literally everyone. So, like, but the series ended with he could have ended up with anyone. And then they did, like, an OVA, like, 2 years later, and he got married to his sister.
Well, thank you.
And I was like, ow, that physically hurt me. Hey, so remember how I said Kira wouldn't show up and I'd leave when she said she'd get here?
Yeah.
She just messaged me that she's not going to show up.
Thank you, Kira.
I should be there. I'm going to make it. Don't worry about it. Please, I'm going to be there, Xavier. Thanks. Yeah. Uh-huh. Ugh. Anyways, back to fan service. Free. Free was an anime based on the concept that the studio could animate water. You heard me right.
Yeah.
Free was made because they wanted to show they could animate water well. Don't you love reasons for making anime?
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna list off 2 series that also had excessive fan service.
Huh.
God dang it! And then I really forget Kaze no Stigma and freaking Fullmetal Panic. They had the same exact type of fan service too.
That's because I swear to God they're the same show, except
if you get MS Paint and you paint Kaname's hair red and you give like Sosuke like just 50% more swagger, it's the same show.
same. You just draw flames everywhere. There you go.
Yes. Speaking of flaming, free. No, I'm kidding. No, that was a joke. Don't kill me, fangirls. Um, so, oh god, now I have a bad joke in my head, and I'm not Daniel Tasha. I'm not going to say it. Anyways,
Cry.
well, yeah, I can. No one's listening anyways anymore these days. No one else say there. You know how Yuri and on Ice and like Free are about water, but they're like super gay, aka super flaming. So technically speaking, like, is it just like in Japan, like, does just water equal flaming for men? Because they're wet, or at least moist.
Same.
So, yeah, all of a sudden, oh yeah, Kaze no Stigma and Horrible Panic. They have choices that they love like just having girls in their bras and panties frequently at like weird times.
Yes.
Like, what was the episode where Sosuke had to sneak on her balcony for something with Kaname's panties? It was like context for that.
Wasn't there the one creeper guy who was like?
I think so.
And then Kaname cut both of them on her balcony. Something like that.
Yeah. I think it was ended up with Sosuke with like one of her panties on his head because she leaves them out there to dry.
Yeah.
Never forget Fullmetal Panic has a Shinji Ikari. Sosuke's nerdy friend is Shinji.
Same.
His name is Shinji. So, yeah, and he gets on the robot after being forced by his father. I swear Fullmetal Panic is just a meme. Oh, by the way, that's coming out this fall. Season 4. Yes.
Holy crap. I'm so hyped.
So like I said, if we just get MS Paint and we just paint the hair red on Kaname, and you squint, it'll be Kaze no Stigma.
So we're just gonna pretend that Kaze no Stigma didn't have a terrible cliffhanger ending to the series,
Yes.
and the writer died, and they're not deciding to adapt the entire light novel that they didn't frickin' touch.
Yes. I wish they could have ended at an arc rather than just a halfway point for an arc.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, Kaze no Stigma always ends up with Kaname just burning through her clothes. Because at this point, apparently the clan can't make fire-retardant clothing for their daughter.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So my favorite thing is when Kazuma has like the healing elixir, and he's just like, I gotta pour this down. What's her freaking face's name? Ayano's name. I forget her name every time, and it makes me sad. I feel kind of bad, but she's not Catherine McDonald, whose name never escapes me because she's got curls and Ojo Salaf and a dress. Also, shout out to American Stereotypes. Thank you, Japan.
Yep.
Ayano is unconscious, and Kazuma's just like, I'm not wasting this elixir, and he puts it in his mouth, and then he like kisses her to get it in, make sure nothing spills. And then Ren's watching.
And he's like, what?
He freaks out. And she's like, did you kiss me? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, you pervert, I was unconscious. He's like, I didn't want you to die. I mean, like, the clan would be after me. I didn't want to waste any of this. He shows the elixir, and she's so pissed. Because, like, low-key, she turns feminazi occasionally.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Hilarious.
I don't understand. Like, but I guess in just Japan, there's just like, if you're part of the photography club and you're like fat, you're just a pervert who takes pictures of girls' skirts. Because apparently that's a thing. It's a reoccurring thing in a lot of high school anime. And I'm like, Japan, please. Oh my god. That's actually why. He wasn't taking pictures, but my geometry teacher, back when he was a high school student, right? This was a couple years ago, my freshman year, my geometry teacher. He's like, back when I was like 15, I was on the student news, and I got kicked off because I was a camera guy, and occasionally I'd just zoom in on the girls' butts.
Please.
Yeah. He's like a teacher now, and he's like, yeah. I did stupid stuff in high school. So anyways, back to Kaze no Stigma and Full Metal Panic, or Full Metal Kaze no Stigma.
Flaming military mercenary.
Sosuke Sagura meets Kazuma.
I feel like this would end poorly as they're both just so inherently destructive.
Like, you know, they're eating at a cafe, right? And some Japanese girl comes to hit on Kazuma because he's bishi, and then people are staring at Sosuke because he's actually, like, Arabic.
Yep.
And then Sosuke is like, do you require assistance? And they're like, no, and it ends up with a grenade blowing up the cafe.
Same.
And Kazuma blocks everything with his wind, and because he does that, it contains the explosion to one side of the cafe, so half the cafe is exploded. Right?
Yep.
That sounds like an interaction between Sosuke Sagura and then, like, Kazuma. Ayano and Chidori, they just team up and, like, become the ultimate feminazi. They fuse and gain purple hair, a longer skirt, and even fetisher uniform, and then thigh-high boots. With a flaming sword of justice in one hand, and a fan that she beats Sosuke with in the other.
Same.
That actually sounds great. God, if I could draw better, I'd draw it. Just their fusion.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
What would be a good name? Chidori means, like, birds. I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Shout out to Best Girl actually being Sosuke's boss.
Yes. Freaking Tessa.
Yes.
Testarossa.
His boss is such a nice girl. But you know
she's fantastic.
She's gonna finish last because she's nice girl. In media, it's like nice guys finish last in, like, the States, but in Japan, it's like nice girls get killed. Or lose.
Same.
Or, if you're a nice older brother, you're really not a nice older brother, or you're dead. Because I guess that's a thing in Japan. Maybe the Japanese have a fetish for dead older siblings. And dead nice girls. That's gotta be it.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, American culture, it's like for stories of a dead parents, but, like, Japan, it's like dead older brother who is, like, the kindest guy in the world.
Yep.
Or your older brother is evil and he slaughtered half your clan, because that's a reoccurring theme in anime.
Same.
I've watched...
Thank you, Itachi.
Yes, after Itachi, it just became a thing. Itachi was evil, but not actually evil because he was the nice older brother. But when they revealed that he was the nice older brother, he died. Naruto went full circle with the nice older brother trope.
Yeah.
Oh, Naruto. So, back to fan service. The problem with Kaze no Stigma and FMP is that the fan service was at times just so random, and while it still fit in with the show's feel, it was just like that. I didn't need the panty shot there. Like, for example, whenever, Chidori would kick someone,
Yep.
or Ayano would, go in for the slash, you get the panty shot, and you're like, well, okay, I guess. I mean, it's just regular panties. They're not even striped. There's no fetish there.
Yep.
So, like, that was questionable. However, the obliviousness that Sosuke has to the fan service, as opposed to Kazuma's constant commentary on the fan service, is hilarious. Kazuma's just like, you shouldn't go for high kicks and skirt, whereas Sosuke is like, I once used a condom to fill up a liter of water while I was in the desert.
Yes.
And both of those things work for dealing with the fan service in their own series.
Yes.
And I think it's fantastic. Sosuke's obliviousness and, well, Kazuma's commentary.
Yes. I have to admit that Kaze no Stigma is just super enjoyable.
Yes.
I mean, that show is great.
Kaze no Stigma was actually something I watched randomly after I watched FMP. And I was like...
Same show? What?
Yes, I actually legitimately halfway said this. I think this is done by the same studio, and I think for season 1 of FMP, it's done by the same studio.
Oh.
And then after that, it's not.
Okay.
Or it might have been the inverse, or something like that. I just don't know. Anyways, I was like, man, these writers must have been like buddies or something, but I don't have any evidence to support that.
Yeah, because there's a lot of similar things.
Similar reoccurring themes, similar comedy, similar designs in some cases, because Ayano is quite literally just a more 90s blue-haired Ayano.
Yes.
Like,
I
there's... FMP is just slightly more 90s than Kaze no Stigma.
Yes.
But I think that's the fact that it's a firmly grounded mech anime. Rather than, a more modern Maho super thing going on there, right? Because there's a lot of mecha from the 70s to 90s, whereas there wasn't very many magical-based series from the 70s to 90s, and that was more of a 2000s and beyond development that this has become a popular concept in popular media in general, for that matter.
Yeah, I understand.
So, yeah. I think we've said all... Well, no, I can get... So, fan service can be detrimental, or it can be useful to the series, depending on how they portray it.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
there's also situations where I think it doesn't affect things positively or negatively. It just kind of exists.
There's lots of anime where it's like, well, I didn't need that, but I mean, it's not bad. For example, Yu-Gi-Oh! Thank you, Taya.
Yeah.
The fact that Taya wore a turtleneck destroyed my life. I was like, oh man, the signature slut symbol of, like, the West. A sleeveless turtleneck, by the way.
Yes.
With a super mini skirt and, like, super thigh highs.
Yes.
And I was like, Taya, I know you still live with your parents. Did they let you leave like that? I swear to God, Japanese people are conservative. Maybe her parents were working that day.
I don't know. I prefer to think of it like this. She hangs out with Yugi, who's the king of games, and this is a world where global governments are run by children's card games. So
Shout out to Kaiba's political poll.
Kaiba is able to interrupt Idaru's, and the Japanese public isn't even mad. It's like, oh, it's Kaiba. It must be something important.
Yes, Kaiba can strip men away from their real life waifus. If he can do that, he must have so much power.
He's got the freaking watchtower in space.
Yes. And no government is complaining to him about that. In fact, they're just like, Kaiba! Well, Kaiba, I think Kaiba and Pegasus, I think, like, dual-handedly ended wars, with Kaiba mainstreaming dual monsters and Pegasus inventing it.
Mm-hmm.
Because, quite literally, in GX, on several occasions, like, world politics have been decided through Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, Yu-Gi-Oh! is so OP in that universe. It's like, hey, will you date me? No. But what if I beat you in a duel? Maybe. Hey, do you want to give me the nuclear launch codes? In fact, that was like a plot point. There was in GX, there was like this Arabian prince who had like tons of money because he owned one of those multinational like oil companies.
Yep.
And so he has like his own private satellite with a laser, and the main villain of the arc is just like, you're gonna give me that laser, and he's like, gee, you thought. And he's like, I'll beat you in a duel. And he's like, I have such good cards. I have such good money. And he loses, and he's like, I guess I have to give you a death laser.
Same.
And I'm just like, man, Yu-Gi-Oh, please. Ah, man. Kaiba. Kaiba in that movie was so delicious. Such a treat. Fantastic.
That's the reason why the first half of the movie was better than the second, because the first half of the movie was all Kaiba doing stuff. The second half of the movie was like Kaiba watching other people do stuff.
Yeah. It kind of switched back to Yugi's perspective, but no one wants to see Yugi's perspective after seeing it for like 300 episodes.
Yep.
Like, Kaiba's perspective is so much cooler. So much cooler. And they're like, hey man, you have to embrace your past. Kaiba's like, no, I refuse to live in the past. That'll just hold me back. Neither of those views are necessarily wrong, but I'm going to lean towards Kaiba's because when you think about things you did in the past, you're more likely to receive anxiety, disappointment, regret.
Yep.
So, like, when they're preaching all this bullcrap, but you have to accept your past, Kaiba, or you're never going to be a good duelist, I am, like, right there with Kaiba getting pissed. So, we have to be wrapping it up soon, so I'm going to bring up a topic. And it's an April Fool's topic. So, every year, the people who made ACMI, which is JC staff, decided to do a prank where they announced that ACMI is going to get a new anime. However, since ACMI is actually getting an anime, they decided to do a certain scientific accelerator anime adaptation, but it was an April Fool's joke.
Same. Well,
and I'm like,
what people want.
I have actually the first volume of certain scientific accelerator. It made it to the States so fast because accelerator is so popular.
Okay.
Like, there was like 5 manga in Japan. It was already out in the States. And I was like, oh. Yeah. So, another note, this is going to tie it in all together. Something else that made it here fast is like NTR set Zode Trap, and it's about a girl and her best friend who start experimenting with lesbianism. And it's NTR because it is quite literally Nettoare. And it's a shoujo. However, according to reviews, the first manga is like an ero novel for men. The rest of it is shoujo.
That's pretty funny.
And I'm like, that's actually hilarious. So there's a review that says, while not bad, however, this is for girls. So the first manga I can recommend more for teenage boys who like seeing girls do stuff together. And there was the quotations on do stuff because of how he worded it, right? I just think that is the funniest crap. I'm like, man, you're going for shoujo from a Yuri angle?
Yeah.
Please. Also, MC in that is still bi AF, so she just smashes everyone. Except her boyfriend, apparently, because that's the thing.
Did you mean the best way to do it?
I'm pretty sure that's why it's called NTR. And alright, guys, it is the proper running time for an episode of Arcanuschat. So, we'll see you guys next week. With me today, I've had Alexu.
Heyo. This is the power of people not showing up.
Yep. And I have been me. So, we'll see you guys next time.